Frankie, before we discuss your thoughts on the 2-1 defeat to Nottingham Forest, or should I say the last home game of the season, it's the same thing, of course, but two different angles, perhaps. I want to discuss something that I've seen on Twitter by Babbling Irons. Let me just pop up on the screen here. Now, I like Babbling Irons, good YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to them, go do so. They said, heading into the summer, we've one straightforward decision to make. Back Potter or relieve him of his duties. If the choice is to back, it can't be half-hearted. It must be all or nothing in its approach. If that can't be guaranteed, then move on to another manager ASAP. Now, I quite like the phrase back or sacks. That's the phrase we're going to use here. But do you agree with what Babbling Irons is saying there, which is we must 100% back him or just get rid of him now?
Most other seasons, I wouldn't agree. I would probably err on the side of caution. And while I feel like we need to make at least a big statement signing to try and fire up the fans to have some more enthusiasm for West Ham again, because I think that enthusiasm's at an all-time low right now, to be honest. I don't think I've ever, in all my years of supporting West Ham, seen the enthusiasm for supporting the club as low as it is right now. So while I think we need to make a big statement signing, unless you're absolutely convinced that he's the man to take you forward, then giving him the entire war chest and sort of going all in on him, it is probably a really bad idea. However, it's more to do with how the Premier League is going to look next season as to why I feel like if any team has any sort of ambition and did not finish in the top 7 this season, next season's your time to go and break into it and try and push forward. So, yeah, because the Premier League's going to look the way it's going to look, because there's going to be so many teams in Europe, there's going to be so many other distractions for those top teams. Anyone who has any ambition to be a top 7 side must go and roll the dice this season. This is the time to do it. You want to get back into Europe as West Ham? Next season's your time to do it.
That's an interesting angle, because I agree in regards to back or sack, but my reasoning is completely different. Although I do understand what you're saying, and there's definitely merit in it, because every year, Newcastle didn't have European football this season, and currently they're in the driving seat for getting Champions League football, and they've won the Carabao Cup. So there is advantages to not having European football if you are a good club. I think my concern is that even if we were to get the transfer window bang on, we still perhaps wouldn't be good enough because of Potter or because our lack of ability going into the transfer window. I still think even if we had a good summer, the best we can hope for next season, perhaps 10th or something like that. And I appreciate that it's not that far away from European spots. And if the teams in the Champions League and Europa League and Conference League do well next season, I think it's a fair expectation that the Premier League will get a 5th Champions League spot again, thus pushing the European spaces further down the league table. So I do get the angle you're coming from. Do you feel like we have that capabilities, Frankie, that we can get the window right, and that if we do, Potter can put us in a position where we are looking to finish 7th?
It's all still up for debate. I'm not sitting here with loads of confidence that we can. But like I say, there's just no better time. I just think there's going to be so many other distractions. We've seen it, off the back of those European games, regardless of how it is. And it's just difficult. It's just tough to play in Europe, to play Thursday, Sunday. It's just not an easy thing to do. And like you said, Newcastle had their drive. They had a poor season in the Premier League off the back of that, on their standard of what they've set now. They then end up with no European football. Then they've pressed straight back into it.
Did you mute yourself on purpose there?
A little quick mute just to try and save your editing there, Geo. I thought it was. I was trying to save the day.
That was good. It just came up saying that you were muted, and you went off mute. Have you got a fancy button there that does it or something? I've got a quick screen and everything.
So good. It's there is just. I just think it is the time. For anyone who's got any ambition to want to get into Europe, I just think, regardless of whether you think Potter's the man, whether you think we can get the transfer window right, it is just the time to go and do it. And you have to take these opportunities. You have to look at the whole picture of what the Premier League's going to be like next year. And if I'm the owner of the football club and I saw what's unfolding, and you look to next year, I would be like, well, now's the time where we go and have a crack at this, because I just, a lot of teams are going to be having a lot going on throughout their season. They're not going to get the points tally that they would normally do. And so I just think it's a totally different answer to what I would have had if the Premier League landscape doesn't look like what it's going to next season. And, if you're saying to me now, like right now, do you think making a quick decision on Potter is a good idea? I would say that would be my preference. I would be saying right now, not only do I think we need investment in the window to roll this dice to get West Ham back into Europe, but I would also say we need the manager to go and really give us that best chance as well. And I don't think Potter is the manager that gives us that best chance. So I would make the decision now. However, I just look at what's going on at West Ham. You look at these changes that are being made. It seems to me like Potter's already their man for next season. And if he is their man, then it's time to back.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I'm a big backer sack almost every transfer window. I'm very pro spend a maximum of your capabilities and improve that squad and really go for it next season. Because why not? Sure, no matter who you are, and if you're a Bournemouth fan, you should be saying the same. Okay, we've lost Howson for 50 million. Kirk Ayers is likely to join Liverpool, but actually, what that does do is gives us a lot of money to spend. We're going to miss out on European football, but we're not far away from it. And if we get it right, we've got the right manager. Maybe we could get in there. Same with Brighton. If Brighton don't quite make it because they need a lot of things to happen for them to get European football through 8, they can look at it and actually they can say, well, do you know what? We're the only team in the league unbeaten at home to the Sky Sports 6 this season. That's a huge positive to take. We've got really good players. We've had a lot of injuries. Next season can be our season. And I would agree with them. I think Brighton will be the team to watch next season. But for us, I think it's back or sack to stay in the Premier League. Speaking very truthfully, Frankie, I think if we don't go 100% into the transfer window, I think we're at risk of relegation. And even if we do go 100%, I think we're still at risk of a relegation battle next season. And I'm a big believer in backing sack because I think doing neither is dangerous. I think if you have a guy that you don't have faith in, so therefore you don't go and back him up, you're setting him up to fail, and you've already decided that he's possibly going to fail. So by that admission, you're admitting that he's probably not the right manager, and as a result, you're not going to back him. So it's almost like a full circle thing, which is, well, okay, so you've decided he's not the right man then, haven't you? You're not prepared to back him. You are also saying this isn't really the guy that we think is going to take us to where we want to be. So then the question is, then why is he still here? So I think absolutely, if they believe Potter is the man, go all in. If you believe he's not the man, or he might not be the man, get rid of him. What we can't do is afford to wait and see, because if we wait and see, we might find ourselves in the bottom 3 by Christmas, and then you're sacking him, trying to find a new manager that's going to keep us up. You've got the January transfer window coming up as well. But I do not trust this club at all to navigate our way through that whatsoever. So why would I back or sack him this summer? Well, for those reasons. I think it's important. I think the squad's in a poor place. I think it needs a lot of investment. But also, even if I step away from Potter and the playing squad for a minute, and I think this is why I think every club should do what they can and spend as much as they can within their capabilities, because of the way PSR works. And I know it's a boring topic, but it's important that if you almost keep your money, let's just say you can spend 30 million and you decide not to, well, we'll just keep that there. We've got a 30 million buffer. You go into the next PSR window. Okay, let's spend to our capabilities over the three-year rolling period. Let's just say you go 30 million profit, then you hit net zero, just for simplicity. So over a 3-year period, you're 30 million up. Yeah, you've got loads of wiggle room. But by the 4th year, that last year, that 30 million year profit drops off. It goes. You're now 0-0. You now don't have that 30 million buffer. It's gone. Yeah, well done for 3 years ago. We don't care now. It's gone. It's out the window. You're now under a little bit of pressure because that 30 million extra, that surplus you had, you've wasted it. You've wasted your opportunity to spend that. And I think because of what's coming up on the landscape with PSR, and we're going to switch to a different model eventually once the Manchester City 115 charges have come to a conclusion. At the minute, we're working with this model, which is you can lose 105 million over a 3-year period, but we're going to be switching to squad to ratio costs, but we're not there yet. And I think as football clubs, you almost want to spend as much as you can, so that when we do switch that model, if you start selling 2 or 3 players that are surplus to requirements, that leeway you gain will be quite important and will give you a massive advantage over others who haven't quite had the foresight for switching to the new model. Now, West Ham, we ain't one of those clubs that are thinking ahead to the future, because we're not willing to, in my opinion, we're not willing to lose 105 million. We're willing to lose 15 million, which is the club's money, but the 90 million, which has to come from the owners, I don't think we're willing to do that. Frankie, I sent you a screenshot of an article this morning from The Athletic saying that Leeds owners are willing to pump in money in shares. Are you now, not that you ever didn't subscribe to my theory, I would argue that's another article to back up my theory as to why we're skint this summer. Would you appreciate it's a completely different club? But that is what I was referring to, that we can lose 90 million, but the owners have to put it in. Leeds United are now going to pump it in so they can lose it this summer buying players.
Yeah, obviously their scenario's a lot different to ours. They've got to, while we need massive improvements and we need a lot of players coming up from that league, we've seen how hard it is to then sustain yourself in the Premier League. It's really difficult. The only team that ever did it was, or have done it confidently recently, was Nottingham Forest, who just went mad and took their punishments and everything else. So teams have come up, tried to play a bit clever with it and not make serious investments, but it's very, very clear that unless you make massive investments coming up, then so I guess you could argue that, similar to what you've said there, that West Ham be in the position that we were, i.e. until very recently 17th, the worst of the rest, i.e. the side who's the one after the ones that are going down, then we're in a very similar position that we've got to make that investment to try and make sure we're staying. But I just don't. If it's me and I'm looking at this as a business owner and an owner of West Ham United, you set your sights a lot higher than that. And like I said, I'm still very much, and I know people probably think I'm crazy for thinking this way, but I don't think. I still think our squad has got a core of very good footballers. And while I think we've got some massive gaps, and these are gaps that we've known about for a long time, there are certain positions that we've known we've needed and needed serious investment in those positions for the last few seasons now. I always sort of say, well, out of that, with Jared Bowen that we've got as well, and then depending on players who are going to stay, but throughout this season, when you've got the likes of Paqueta and you've got Kudus, and they're good footballers. We shouldn't need the same as what a team coming up from the Championship is going to need. So, our board, for all of what they will believe has been very good, they would genuinely believe it. I've said this before. If you ask them what their ownership rating out of 10 has been for West Ham United since they owned the football club, they would tell you 11. They would say, not only have we delivered European football, like we said, you've won your trophy, that they would stand there and say, we've got the stadium, everything that we promised. While we know this is not the case, they will say we've delivered on everything we said we would. That's how they will see it. They'll be sitting there right now, as they always do, thinking in a very similar way, we've got very good footballers. we've massively underachieved this season. It was a bit of a rocky road. There's been a lot of unsettlement. We've had injuries to Antonio and stuff like that. Well, next season, from a fresh start with this manager that, for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is that they see, but they firmly believe can do what, whatever their expectation is, which unfortunately probably is just staying in the Premier League most of the time. They will believe that he can deliver on a very comfortable season without it being what some feel was in potentially a fight for survival. They'll be thinking next season is mid-table, comfortable. And I just don't know whether they believe there's this significant investment required. And that's my biggest worry of going into next season is I don't think they'll roll the dice for Europe. I don't even feel like they feel they need to roll the dice to stay in the Premier League. Their mindset at the moment is probably very, very relaxed. They're probably thinking, we've got Graham Potter, a very safe pair of hands. We've got the foundations of a very decent squad. All we need to do is go and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's enough. If they were sitting there thinking differently, then maybe, and I think any good owner, like I said, would be prepared to do what Leeds have just done. I don't think they'll be sitting there thinking like it's not them being prepared to invest. I think they'll be sitting there saying it's not necessary.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Actually, I do agree with what you're suggesting there, that they think they're better than they are. There was a quote from a board member of West Ham regarding the defeat at the weekend, and I can't remember exactly word for word, but it's not far off there. So it went along the lines of, well, it was a stupid individual mistake. What's Potter meant to do about that? Obviously referring to Nottingham Forest making it 1-0. And it is accurate. Yes, it was a stupid mistake. But I would also argue that that's Potter's tactics that influenced that stupid mistake. And what about all the other games? If we'd won 3, drawn 2, and lost 2, and one of the defeats you're putting down to a bad individual error, fair enough, because there's 5 games there where we picked up points. There's merit. But I think when we've picked up 1 win in 10 games, you can't just go, well, stupid mistake. Okay, what about the other game? Also a stupid mistake. Oh, what about the also a stupid mistake? You can't just say stupid mistakes to sort of mask results, because, well, by that nature, then we only beat Fulham because of a stupid mistake. Because remember, the Pereira tried to put it across the face of goal and we intercepted it and scored. Right? Okay, so we only won. So that game we lost against Nottingham Forest because of a stupid mistake. Okay, well, we beat Fulham because of a stupid mistake, right? Look, that's it ruled out. Now let's account for the other games as well. So I think it goes along with what you're suggesting, which is they believe they've got good players and they've got a good manager, and that we need a few signings in the summer and we'll be all right. And I think that's a dangerous mindset, and I think it's ignoring a lot of facts presented to you, which is he's got 4 wins in 18. You do that next season, you get relegated. You've really got to, I think, put the blinkers on to convince yourself that what's happening now, if we copy and paste it, will be all right. And yes, of course, we could bring in some good players in the summer and we improve and refine. But again, I suggest there's not much evidence to say that we're going to do that and we'll be all right in the summer transfer window. We'll wait and see. Right then, Frankie, we're going to move on to your thoughts from the Nottingham Forest game, but you guys listening, please get involved in the comments below. Let us know what you think. It's an opinion from Babbling Irons. There's no news here. It's just their opinion, back or sack. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and myself and Frankie will be taking a look at them and saying hello to a few of you. Frankie, last home game of the season, a defeat by Nottingham Forest. What did you make of everything? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I just feel it's a shadow of what West Ham has been in the past. It's a real shame. Empty seats everywhere.
Yeah.
Not the same end of season carnival atmosphere.
You were there. I wasn't there. You were. And I've seen a couple of people say, the club said, get in your seats by 2 p.m. There's a presentation for Hammer of the Year and Alan Creswell. Now, I've seen Creswell getting his shirt, But was there much made of it within the stadium about Hammer of the Year and Creswell and Young Hammer of the Year? I mean, normally we used to make a big deal about that, a Young Hammer of the Year, but I didn't even know who was Hammer of the Year until like yesterday, Monday. Then I was like, oh, Ollie Scholes has won it. Okay, I wasn't even aware.
Yeah, a really odd way to do it. Like, it's an early-ish kickoff.
Yeah.
Everyone is enjoying their day out. It's the last one of the season. Everyone wants to enjoy themselves. So everyone wants to go. They want to meet up with friends. It's the last time that they'll see them for a little while. They want to have a drink and whatever else. Why do you want to push everyone into the ground early? Don't make any sense to me. We've never done it that way before. It's always been done after the game is finished. I've never seen any other club. I'll be wrong here because there will be other clubs who do it that way, and I fully understand that. But, I've seen a few other teams that have finished their season and been last game of the season. Everyone does it post-match rather than pre-match. It gives you the time to actually fully appreciate. And like I say, West Ham last games of the season, how I remember them from the past, the carnival atmospheres. So outside before the game, everyone's really enjoying themselves. They go round to the off license. Everyone's got footballs. They're booting them up in the air. I remember being down, Barking Road at Upton Park, and everyone's out in the streets, and fantastic atmospheres.
I remember 2 games. I should have fact checked this, but I didn't know we were going to be speaking about this. Was it Middlesbrough at home? We tried to beat the record for most people blowing bubbles in one place. So I remember bubbles getting handed out. Then another game, it could be the same one, but I remember another game getting a free Yorkie before. Again, it was really hot, so it melted by the time we got on the ground. And I was just a little kid, but I remember getting in the ground and holding it, and but because it was so warm, it had melted before it opened it. And that was when Yorkie had Not for Girls on it. That was when it was real chocolate wrappers before it went woke.
Yeah,
but I know what you're saying. It was an event. It was an occasion. The game was almost second, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember back as well, they used to release the next season's kits on the last game of the season. So I remember loads of times going around to the shop, picking up the kit and all, and it was just things that you did that just made that last game of the season a special day.
In that regard, so we're stuck this time round because, and I know we haven't done it in past seasons with Umbro and Betway, but we're stuck this time because we're switching from Betway to Boyle Sports. Betway have still got the sponsorship until the 30th of June, and there's obviously a conflict of interest, so the club can't be running around promoting Boyle Sports while in a contract with Betway. But I appreciate, last year we didn't do that. We could have brought out the new kit. But that's why we're stuck. But this is the other thing where some teams are just a little bit more clever than us. Aston Villa are releasing their away kit now because any revenue for the new kit is in this PSR accounting period. So if they sell, to keep it really simple, it's not this straightforward, but they obviously sell 50,000 tops at 50 quid. That's 2.5 million goes into the club's PSR accounts now. Then you bring out the home kit in July, and it's a different PSR accounting period. So even there's teams that are manipulating when to release kits because it helps them out PSR either side of the deadline and stuff. And we just aren't like that as a football club. We're just not that switched on.
No, I don't think we do anything with any real fault, to be honest with you. Like I said to you before, and that shows. It's shown in the Tottenham game that we had, and it was a shadow of what a Tottenham derby normally is. And then the last game of the season, it should be just, even if you've had not a very good season. Yeah. And I find it odd, and I find some of the ways that the players have communicated that we've got one more to go and let's finish on a high and all this sort of rubbish. I don't think they really appreciate how much of a tough time we've had being home fans, and the fans deserved something for that last game, and the club should have made a lot more effort to make that a bit of a day, and should really have almost, while they don't have to come out and say it, they should have almost done something that was, and even the other, Birmingham had UB40 concert after their match. Like, everyone stayed in the ground, and they've had a massive, they did little things that go a long way. And you've seen Birmingham this season, everyone pulling together, the fans, the management, they're all together. You see these other clubs that are just so joined in what they're trying to do. Newcastle's been another perfect example. All believe in what's going on at that football club, all are together, moving forward as one. I've never seen a club, and I said this to you the other day, that goes and achieve things when there's fans that are not sure about the manager and not sure about this and not sure about that, and everyone's pulling in the same direction. And I just feel like there's a million and one things that the club could have done to almost apologise for what's been a really bad season, a really poor return on investment of our money, on our season ticket money, our time, how our cost of going to, the football matches at home, because the record has been dismal. And I just feel like they should have made more of an effort. Instead, it almost felt like it was let's draw a line under this and move forward as quickly as possible. And
I think it's summed up by their attitude when it comes to season ticket renewals. So they brought out the information and said, well, renew now and we'll give you extra loyalty points. So we're going to try the bribery thing. And when it's sort of like a board member has been asked about season ticket renewals, the response has been, oh, it'll be all right. And there's loads of people on the waiting list. It's like people are walking away, and the club's attitude isn't like, why, or I hope not. What can we do to keep them? Why do they feel like they've had a bad experience? Let's do all that and let's work out how to improve it. That's not their attitude. Their attitude is, we'll go on then, F off, and we'll get someone else in. That is the messaging that comes across from the club, which is, well, we're not that bothered. We'd like you to renew quickly, and we'll give you a little couple of loyalty points to say thank you. There you are, good boy, thank you very much. What, you're not happy? We'll do one. It's not like, oh, okay, well, let's find out why there's so many fans not renewing. Let's find out. Also, there's some fans that are still undecided right now. We've got to decide in the next 12 days. We've got to renew by the 2nd of June. Some fans are possibly in the area of undecided. They might have gone to that game, and because of the experience, thought, you know what, sack this off. I don't feel valued. I'm not wanted. They're not arse. Let's just disappear. But like you said, had the club come out and just got Bowen to just say something on the Thursday or Friday on the official website, say it's been a crap season, but Sunday we're going to say a massive thank you and goodbye to Creswell, to Sufal, to Fabianski. We're going to make a day of it. Like you said, just even if you don't apologise, just recognise, just acknowledge that it's not been the best season at West Ham. And maybe some people would have felt a bit valued. People would have thought, okay, they realise that. Maybe not, but I think the way to go about it sometimes is just two fingers up to people, really. And it's like, if you don't want to renew, do one. We'll just replace you with someone else. You might not even be a West Ham fan. Doesn't matter. So I think that's everything comes back to that attitude of not really valuing the fan base. And it'll cost them one day. One day the chickens will come home to roost. They'll reap what they sow. When that day is, I don't know. It might be this summer. It might be that season ticket renewal rates will be a lot lower. But the thing is, the way this club are, they won't say, oh, it's because of us. They'll say it's because of the cost of living crisis. It's because of Lopetegui and Tim Steidten that we're in this mess, and the fans have had enough of that, so they don't want to renew. It won't be we've messed up, and that's why people are walking away. They'll blame other people, and then they'll say, but it's all right. 50,000 people wanting to get a season ticket. Fuck off.